Sudeva Narayan Namaskritya Naram Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriya Nashtaprayesha Bhadresha Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhakti Nashtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, Chapter 7, Lord Chaitanya in 5 features, text 104 onwards. So as we know, Mahaprabhu was in Banaras meeting all these Mayavadi sannyasis, and after he spoke with them, they started glorifying Mahaprabhu, and they wanted to know more about chanting and dancing and Vaishnavism. So they further said, Tomar vachan shuni judaya shravan, Tomar madhuri dekhi judaya nayan. Dear Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they said, to tell you the truth, we are greatly pleased to hear your words. And furthermore, your bodily features are so pleasing that we feel extraordinary satisfaction in seeing you.
Prabhuji, I think we have to start from 103.
Really? No, this we did. They address each other as Narayan.
It was 104 probably.
Yeah, 104. So they were pleased to hear his words and pleased to see his extraordinary features. In the Shastra it is said, Ata Shri Krishna Namadi Nabhavid Graham Indriya Sevan Mukhe Hi Jivado Swayameva Suratina. With one's materially contaminated senses, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or his name, form, qualities, or paraphernalia. But if one renders service unto him, the Lord reveals himself. So the Lord, even after service, it's not like by our service we can see the Lord. He reveals himself because of his mercy, because of his affection towards his devotees. Here one can see the effect of the Mayavadi sannyasi service towards Narayan. And what service they did? Hardly anything. But still, Mahaprabhu was pleased and he wanted to transform their hearts. Because the Mayavadis offered a little respect to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and because they were pious and actually followed the austere rules and regulations of sannyas, they had some understanding of Vedanta philosophy, and by the grace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they could appreciate that he was none other than the Supreme Personality of God. He was endowed with all 6 opulences. One of these opulences is his beauty. By his extraordinarily beautiful bodily features, the Mayavadi sannyasis recognized Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Narayan himself. He was not a farcical Narayan like the Daridra Narayans invented by so-called sannyasis. He is real Narayan, and by his mercy, all these Mayavadi sannyasis could see him, could understand. They appreciated his speaking and his bodily features. But why this mercy? Why this mercy? That Prabhupada explained. They were pious, followed the austere rules and regulations of sannyas, had some understanding of Vedanta philosophy, and they rendered some service towards Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we talk about causeless mercy all the time. Prabhupada writes about causeless mercy. Actually, it is causeless mercy because the proportion of mercy is not in proportion to the service. Mercy is much more. But still, the person has to be ready. He has to have to do something to get even so much of mercy. It's not like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there for 48 years. and all over in 24 years in Navadvip, and then later part in Jagannath Puri, some part in South India. But not everybody became a Vaishnava because they were not properly eligible, qualified to receive that mercy. Although the mercy was there, so many people saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Not everybody became a Vaishnava. So many people saw Srila Prabhupada when he came to the West and he traveled all over. And it is said just by seeing a pure devotee even once, love matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hai. But they didn't take his association. That Agyat Sukriti wasn't there. But these Mayavadi sannyasis, although they were Mayavadis, but they got the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Tomare prabhave sabbar anandita man, kabhu asangat nahe tomare vachan. Dear sir, by your influence our minds are greatly satisfied and we believe that your words will never be unreasonable. Therefore you may speak on the Vedanta Sutra. In this verse, the words Tomara Prabhave, your influence, are very important. Unless one is spiritually advanced, he cannot influence an audience. Unless one is spiritually advanced, he cannot influence an audience. Spiritually. And we have so many motivational speakers these days, but that influence is different. So again, although Prabhupada just writes a line, we have to understand this. Many times we see speakers, I'm not talking only of ISKCON or Gaudiya Vaishnava, or Vaishnava speakers, Mayavadi speakers, but they have huge following. And so many thousands and thousands of people go to there to listen to Katha. Whether they understand anything or not, that's besides the point. But they still attract so many people. So some potency is there. Whether they have understood the proper position of the soul, of the jiva, with the living, with God, respect to God, and the ultimate goal of life, that's different. But they have some potency. Otherwise, so many people are not just going to listen to anybody. So from that aspect, we should at least respect that the person has performed some austerities in previous lives. But at the same time, if he's not following Vaishnava philosophy, if he's not taking his followers on the right path of Krishna consciousness, then plenty of things are missing. But at least he has performed austerities. So we should try to see good in everything. And everybody has good qualities. It's not like everybody is just full of rascaldom, in Prabhupada's words. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung, Shuddha Bhakta Charana Renu Bhajana Anu. Unless one associates with the pure devotee, one cannot be influenced to understand devotion service. These Mayavadi sannyasis were fortunate enough to meet the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of a devotee, and certainly they were greatly influenced by the Lord. They knew that since a perfectly advanced spiritualist never says anything false, all his words are reasonable and agree with the Vedic version. A highly realized person never says anything that has no meaning. Mayavadi philosophers claim to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and this has no meaning. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never uttered such nonsense. Mayavadi sannyasis were convinced about his personality, and therefore they wanted to hear the purport of Vedanta philosophy from him. But Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never said we all are God. Because that's not Vaishnava understanding. Prabhu kahe Vedanta Sutra Ishvara Vachan Vyasa Rupe Kaila Yaha Shri Narayan. Now he will discuss something about Vedanta Sutra and give some technical knowledge there. Especially his commentary or his discussion of the Atma Ram verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. And this Atma Ram verse, it's very, very important verse. Mahaprabhu gave one understanding of this Atma Ram verse. Later, when Sanatan Goswami met Mahaprabhu again in Banaras, Sanatan Goswami asked, I want to hear your definition of Atma Ram verse, what you said about that. And Mahaprabhu said, well, I was just mad and I just spoke something. So, no, I want to hear. And then Mahaprabhu, let me remember, I think he gave 61 more definitions or understandings of that Atma Ram verse, without touching the definition he gives here in this meeting. Either it was 61 or more, 60, somewhere there, 61, 62, something like that. That only Mahaprabhu could give. Sanatana Goswami was also surprised how he can explain that Atmaram verse in so many ways, so many ways. Prabhu kahe Vedanta Sutra, Ishwar Advachan, Vyasa Rupe Kaila Yaha Shri Narayan. The Lord said, Vedanta philosophy consists of words spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan in the form of Vyasati. The Vedanta Sutra, which consists of aphorisms revealing the method of understanding Vedic knowledge, is the concise form of all Vedic knowledge. So it's given in sutra. Sutra means theorems. So the theorems can be explained differently by different people, depending upon their understanding. It begins with the words Athatu Brahma Jigyasa. Now is the time to inquire about the absolute truth. Now means not that, okay, it's 4th of June of 2023 or 5th of June in India, and this is a time. No. It means is because now we have the human form of life, it is the perfect time to inquire about the absolute truth. And it's the perfect time in the sense because in this life only we can understand. In this human form only we can understand. Brahma Jigyasa, what is absolute truth? The human form of life is especially meant for this purpose. And therefore the Vedanta Sutra very concisely explains the human mission. This is confirmed by the words of the Vayu and Skanda Puranas, which define a sutra as follows. Alpaksharam asandigdham sarvat vishwato mukham astobham anvadyam cha sutram sutro vido vidu. A sutra is a compilation of aphorisms that expresses the essence of all knowledge in a minimum of words. So this is what sutra means. A compilation of aphorisms that expresses the essence of all knowledge in a minimum of words. And this is what Ved Vyasi has given. It must be universally applicable and faultless in its linguistic presentation. Anyone familiar with such sutras must be aware of the Vedanta Sutra. which is well known among scholars by the following additional names. It's also called Brahma Sutra, Sharirak, Vyasa Sutra, Badrayana Sutra, Uttara Mimamsa, and Vedant Darshan. So different people refer to it differently, but it's all Vedanta Sutra. So there are 4 chapters or adhyayas in the Vedanta Sutra, and there are 4 divisions, parts in each chapter. Therefore, the Vedanta Sutra may be referred to as Shodash Path, or 16 divisions of aphorisms. The theme of each and every division is fully described in terms of 5 different subject matters, adhikarans, which are technically called Pratigya, Hetu, Udaharan, Upanay, and Nigaman. Every theme must necessarily be explained with reference to Pratigya, or a solemn declaration of the purpose of the treatise. The solemn declaration given in the beginning of the Vedanta Sutra is Athata Brahma Jigyasa, which indicates that this book was written with the solemn declaration to inquire about the absolute truth. So this is the pratigya, vow, or solemn declaration that this is what it's going to explain. Similarly, reasons must be expressed, hetu. Examples must be given in terms of various facts, udaharan. The theme must gradually be brought nearer for understanding, upanaya. And finally, it must be supported by authoritative quotations from the Vedic Shastras, Nigaman. And Ved Vyasi, he wrote everything in this sutra form, all these 5 subjects or aspects. Of course, for whatever reason, for some reason, Krishna knows the best reason. So much of Vedic knowledge is now lost. Just imagine, this is one Vedanta Sutra. We must have it, so people have written commentaries on it. But so much of other knowledge was there. And it was lost. It was burned down by the Mughal invaders. How much more was there? And okay, Mughal invaders, they burned down the libraries in Takshila and Nalanda. And all the scriptures were lost. Somehow some scriptures were kept by Brahmins in their homes, and they were saved. And then the Britishers, they came, Max Mueller, or Lord Macaulay, Lord, I don't want to call him Lord. Macaulay, this was his goal, to put down the Vedic literature. They didn't burn the libraries, but they burned the real meaning, and they wanted to give an upper hand to Bible and other and their other scriptures, saying, "Oh, see, Bible says this, and this makes sense in your scriptures, which is basically for Neanderthals or the Stone Age men. It says this doesn't make sense." So in one way, Britishers, they made more damage to the Vedic literatures. Now look at the generation now. They have no faith in Vedic scripture. They have no knowledge. They have no inclination to even hear anything, forget about sit down and studying it. Especially in North India. South India still has good culture of studying and following some rules. But most, it is, even if they're following, it's basically the ritualistic following without understanding the depth of it. This is really tragic. People student age is the best age when they can study these scriptures and implement them in their lives. But they have no time. They have all the time for WhatsApp and Facebook and go after girls or boys and do all sorts of nonsense. But Athato Brahma Jigyasa. This is the goal of human life. But who cares? Not even bothered even a bit about this. And then when they hear something from somewhere and then they believe, oh yeah, this must be true. Why? You have the scriptures, read them. Or at least approach somebody who knows. You know? According to the great dictionary compiler Hemachandra, also known as Koshkar, Vedanta refers to the purports of the Upanishads and the Brahman portion of the Vedas. Professor Apte in his dictionary describes the Brahman portion of the Vedas as that portion which states the rules for employment of hymns at various sacrifices and gives detailed explanations of their origin, sometimes with lengthy illustrations in the form of legends and stories. It is distinct from the mantra portion of the Vedas. Hemchandra says that the supplement of the Vedas is called Vedanta Sutra. Veda means knowledge and Anta means the end. In other words, proper understanding of the ultimate purport of the Vedas is called Vedanta knowledge. Such knowledge as given in the aphorisms of the Vedanta Sutra must be supported by the Upanishads. So see, all these scriptures, they are combined, they're together. It's not like they're just on their own existing. According to learned scholars, there are three different sources of knowledge, which are called Prasthanatraya. According to these scholars, Vedanta is one of such sources, for it presents Vedic knowledge on the basis of logic and sound arguments. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Brahma Sutra Padais Chaiva Hetu Madhbhir Vinishchita. Understanding the ultimate goal of life is ascertained in the Brahma Sutra by legitimate logic and argument concerning cause and effect. Therefore, the Vedanta Sutra is known as Nyaya Prasthan. Upanishads are known as Shruti Prasthan, and the Gita, Mahabharata, and Puranas are known as Smriti Prasthan. All scientific knowledge of transcendence must be supported by Shruti, Smriti, and a sound logical basis. Of course, okay. Prabhupada gives a long purport. I'll just go towards the last paragraph. Srila Vyasadeva, a powerful incarnation of Narayana, compiled the Vedanta Sutra in order to protect it from unauthorized commentaries. He personally composed Srimad Bhagavatam on the instruction of his spiritual master Narad Muni as the original commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Besides Srimad Bhagavatam, there are commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra composed by all the major Vaishnava acharyas, and in each of them, devotional service to the Lord is described very explicitly. Only those who follow Shankara's commentary have described the Vedanta Sutra in an impersonal way, without reference to Vishnu Bhakti or devotional service to the Lord Vishnu. Generally, people very much appreciate the Sharitak Bhashya or impersonal description of the Vedanta Sutra. But all commentaries that are devoid of devotional service to Lord Vishnu must be considered to differ in purport from the original Vedanta Sutra. In other words, Lord Chaitanya definitely confirmed that the commentaries or bhashyas written by Vaishnava acharyas on the basis of devotional service to Lord Vishnu and not the Sharirak Bhashya of Shankaracharya gives the actual explanation of the Vedanta Sutra. So those are the real commentaries as confirmed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Lord himself. The problem is, who has time to even study this, to understand all this? really thankful to Prabhupada. We can at least try to understand some things about scriptures. Otherwise, try picking up commentary on Bhagavad Gita by anybody other than Prabhupada and try understanding that thing. Can't understand it. So this is why Prabhupada's books have brought about a revolution in the life of spiritual seekers. It's really brought about revolution. So by mercy of Prabhupada, now we are trying to study. I don't know all this, so much of knowledge is there, I don't know anything. But at least by his mercy, we're trying to study, trying to understand, and maybe he will give us some knowledge so that if we don't understand, at least the future generation, so whoever we preach to, whoever we give out the books to, they'll get down and study it deeply, thoroughly, and convince others also. So that's all we can pray for. Okay, I guess I can stop this. Anybody has any questions or comments?
Prabhuji, it's very difficult to convince others in this age and time.
I
Very,
know.
very difficult. Very difficult. It's like,
Especially the relatives.
other relatives, apne bachche, padosi, everyone. Nobody is interested. Nobody. The moment you start off with this, अच्छा ठीक है हमको पता है भाई छोड़ो बस बस छोड़ो कोई और बात करते हैं ऐसे क्या बात करो भाई.
And also all these years, Bollywood movies have always made fun of Pandits.
Yeah.
Always. So nobody has left any faith in them. And in our school education system, there is no education on scriptures. Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, Mahabharata, there is no education given. So where is the time left for anybody to study?
A little bit also they don't want to listen. In bits and pieces, if you try to tell them anything, not interested. Forget about studying these scriptures and all. It's a very tedious job. Small portions, small incidents, small stories. Not interested.
Well, we keep on trying. That's all. Keep on trying. Okay, Manta.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.